Good evening, everybody. My name is Lana Uzagi, girl of your dreams, harbinger of your nightmares, and your computer is about to explode. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a nice day, morning, noon, afternoon, evening, or night. Today, on Internet Campfire Tales, we have one of my personal favorites. Now, this story, not for the faint of heart necessarily. We will be dealing with some themes of existentialism. I should probably warn you up ahead. If that is something that you are not comfortable with, I suggest you sit this one out. We will be reading The Strangest Security Tape I've Ever Seen, a story that deals with, like I said, some existential horror, but also some horror that I think we've all faced, and that is weird coworkers. If you guys enjoy, remember, this kind of series, this reading, this is not my main hustle. After all, I'm a streamer and voice actor first and foremost. So, if you enjoyed a series and would like to see it more, please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And also join if you want to hear more in this series. I'm not sure if this or Abandoned by Disney will be the trial episode of Internet Campfire Tales. I'm not sure yet which of the two will be the one that it will be available to everyone. But in the event that this one is, hello everybody. I hope you enjoy what you're about to see today, and if you do enjoy, please consider becoming a member of the channel, and you'll be able to get one of these stories once a month. A little personal audiobook for you to sleep to listen to when you're anxious and want to be scared stiff, I suppose, or if you're just looking for a good old-fashioned scare. So, with that out of the way, why don't we get into this story here? The strangest security tape I've ever seen. Sit back, relax, maybe get yourself a coffee, a little work stop coffee maybe, or maybe turn into sleep. Either way, allow me to give you a nightmare. I work at a gas station in rural Pennsylvania. It's a boring job, but it's pretty easy and it pays all right. A few weeks ago, this new guy started. I'll call him Jeremy. Jeremy is weird. He's about 25 or 26, and he hardly speaks. But he's got the creepiest laugh I've ever heard. My boss and I have both noticed this, but it's never been a problem, so there's not much we can do about it. Customers have never complained about him, and he's always done his job fairly well. Up until a few weeks ago, anyway. That's when things started going missing. Employee theft can be a problem in any business that sells consumer goods, and there's only one person working at a time at the gas station. It's a pretty small place. About 2 weeks ago, my boss started noticing that we were short on motor oil. At first, it was a few containers at a time, then entire shelves and boxes from the back room. Pretty soon, entire shipments would be gone the day after we got them, and it would always be right after Jeremy's shifts. My boss had checked the security camera tapes from every single night he worked, but he could never catch him in the act. Jeremy would lock up at closing. Then the motor oil will be gone the next day. My boss usually takes the tapes home with him to try and catch Jeremy stealing, but his daughter had a softball game last night, so he asked me to watch the tapes for him. He offered to pay me overtime, under the table. So, obviously, I took that offer. There are 3 cameras, so they gave me 3 different tapes to check. I figured it would be a long night, but I'm trying to save up for a vacation, so I really needed the money. I took the tapes home, popped them in an old VCR, and sat back. 2 days ago, the last time we worked, Jeremy started at 4 p.m. Everything seemed pretty normal at first. He counted up his drawer, switched off with the girl who was working before him, and waited for a customer. The first person who came in was Mrs. Templeton. The timestamp on the video read 4:03. Irregular. She picked up her cigarettes and a newspaper and paid with a 20. Nothing unusual there. The next customer was some local guy named Ron. He drives a motorcycle, usually comes in every few days. He filled up his tank, got a bag of beef jerky, paid with his credit card, and then left. Next was some guy with a cowboy hat. I had never seen him before, but we get plenty of strangers passing through, just like at any gas station. He got $40 worth of diesel fuel, paid with a $100 bill, and went on his way. I sat back and sighed. The only thing more boring than doing this job is watching someone else do it. My boss's offer was enough to keep me watching, though, so I left the tape on. Everything seemed pretty normal. I had a feeling if Jeremy was stealing motor oil, he knew we were suspicious of him by now. I didn't expect him to be dumb enough to let us catch him on camera. Things stayed boring and routine until about 5 o'clock. At 5:03, Mrs. Templeton came back in. She must have forgotten something. But she didn't. She bought the same pack of cigarettes as before and the same newspaper. She'd paid with another 20. That's odd, I thought, but then again, she's a little absent-minded. I thought Jeremy should have told her she already got her smokes, but it's not against the rules to sell somebody the same thing twice. That's when Ron came in again. He bought another tank of gas for his motorcycle again. I later checked the outdoor camera because I thought maybe he had another car he wanted to fill up. And the same pack of beef jerky. He paid with his credit card again. No big deal. I figured that this is just a weird coincidence. Mrs. Templeton is forgetful, and Ron probably owns more than one Harley. That's when the guy in the cowboy hat came back in. I felt a chill run down my spine. Don't get diesel, don't get diesel, I found myself whispering to my empty living room. But he did. He got $40 worth of diesel fuel and paid with another $100 bill. Every move he made was identical to his first visit, right down to the way he scratched his nose before he walked out. Either this guy's rich, owns a lot of trucks, and just moved into town, or something really bizarre was happening. I kept watching. Every single customer for the next hour was the same as before. Every single one. I was seriously freaked out. Then at 6:03, Mrs. Templeton walked back in. She bought her cigarettes, a newspaper, and paid with a 20 again. I thought I was going to lose it. I only watched another half hour before I started fast-forwarding through the rest. It was all the same. Every customer would come in at the exact same times, exactly 1 hour apart. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sneaky motherfucker Jeremy had messed with the tapes. He had run a loop of his first hour of business over and over. That wasn't the case. There are windows around the cash register area that the camera covers, and I watched the sunlight fade as time ran on. Jeremy's routine didn't loop over. He swept, mopped, restocked, and did all his duties exactly how you would expect. But the same customers kept coming in. I was panicking at this point. Something was seriously wrong with what I was seeing, and I had no explanation for it. I skipped ahead to when he locked up and walked out to his car. He hadn't stolen anything, but I kept watching, just to make sure. I fast-forwarded one last time to about midnight. And at exactly 12:03, out of nowhere, Jeremy's face pops up on camera. I don't mean he moved his head into view. I mean that 1 second the store was empty and the next his face was all I could see. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at me. I was sure of it. I screamed and fumbled for the remote. By the time I grabbed it, he was gone, just as soon as he had left. One frame he was there, the next he wasn't. My hands were shaking like crazy, but I popped in another tape. The indoor camera shows the back area, by the cash register. I will be able to see how he got up to put his face in the camera like that. I skipped ahead to 2:03, but there was nothing. I would have been able to see him standing on a chair or something on this tape, but he wasn't there. I didn't see him enter the store at all after he left. It was like he wasn't really there. He doesn't know the security code, and no alarms were triggered at night after he locked up. What I did see, however, was that at 12:03, the motor oil vanished off the shelf. All of it. Same as Jeremy's face. 1 second it was there, and the next it wasn't. I turned that tape off and went to bed, but I didn't get a wink of sleep. My body is exhausted right now, but my mind is racing. That tape was undoubtedly the creepiest, most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life. I work in a few hours. My boss asked me to bring the tapes back in and let him know what I found. But really, what the hell am I going to say? Jeremy works the night shift tonight, directly after me, and the plan is for my boss to come in just before I leave and confront him with me, as if I'm supposed to be the one who caught him stealing. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I suppose I'll have to show my boss the tapes, but I don't want to watch them with him. I never want to see something like that again. I can't get the image of Jeremy just smiling directly into the camera out of my mind. It was the creepiest look I've ever seen on another human being's face. Anyway, I'm gonna try again to get some last minute sleep before I have to go in and deal with this. I'll let you guys know what happens. Update, 2:49 p.m. Updating from my phone. Apologies in advance for any errors. My boss just finished watching the last of the tapes. I just told him what happened, but you really can't prepare someone for something like that. He's scared shitless. I still am too, and Jeremy is due to come in at 4. We've got a little over an hour to get our shit together, but neither one of us knows what to say to him. Is he just a fucked up guy who likes to steal motor oil and scare the shit out of people? Or is he something else? I don't know if this is crazy, but does anyone think he could have anything to do with the time loop? My boss said he never noticed anything like that in the other tapes, but the way he popped up in this one made me think he knew I would be watching. It's like he wanted me to see what he could do. Like he was showing off or something. The way he smiled into the camera like a little kid showing you a sandcastle they just built or something. I don't know. I probably sound crazy. I sure feel the part. I'm going to talk to my boss some more. We have to calm ourselves down and figure out how to handle this. I'll update again tonight, but I have a really, really bad feeling about how this is going to play out. Update, 4:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 5:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 6:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 7:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 8:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 10:58 p.m. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. I just got home and saw my previous updates. Things make less sense now than ever. Here's what I can tell you. I went to work. Jeremy never showed up. My boss and I decided to call the police. As you're well aware. When I picked up the phone to call, though, the sun went out. I shit you not, that's what I thought happened. And apparently, I blacked out for exactly 5 hours. Because when I looked at the clock, it was 9:33. I think I got stuck in Jeremy's time loop. And then I snapped out of it at the exact point I blacked out, if that makes sense. But that's when things got really weird. My boss was right next to me when I blacked out, ready to corroborate my story to the cops. When I came to, the phone was in my hand, but it was dead. Not even a dial tone. My boss was still right there, but he wasn't moving. He was standing up, but frozen. I looked at the clock again, and it wasn't moving. The second hand was stuck on a 12. It was 9:33 exactly. The clock on the register, its computer screen, wasn't moving either. My phone was frozen. There was even a customer at the register, waiting for my boss to get him cigarettes. I'm betting that would have been his 5th packet a day. I got the fuck out of there. Didn't lock up, didn't turn the lights out, and sorry guys, I didn't grab the security tapes to upload on the internet. Believe me, that was the last thing on my mind. The gas station is on a major highway, and cars were parked all along it. Except they weren't parked. They were frozen. The people inside were sitting as still as wax statues. I got in my car and prayed that it would start. Thankfully, it did. About halfway home, time started up again. The static from the radio turned to music, like it's supposed to be. And from what I could tell by listening to the host talk in between songs, no one noticed the time freeze or whatever it was. I was the only one. Well, I'm sure Jeremy noticed as well. I still have no clue where he is or what he's doing. I'm hiding in my room and calling the police again in the morning. I don't know if I ever got through to them before, or if I did, whether they took me seriously. I'm scared for my life at this point. I'll update tomorrow, if I can. Final update, 10:33 a.m. I finally fell asleep last night around 4. I have no idea how I did it. I guess exhaustion finally got the best of me. This morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. It was my boss. He'd been calling me since about 6. He woke up when time turned back on last night and immediately called the cops. They came by to see what was wrong, and he told them everything. The police around here are all small-time guys. They were more concerned with the missing motor oil than anything, but my boss figured he would take it, as long as he had their attention. They decided to go looking for Jeremy. We keep all our employees' applications on file, and since Jeremy just started working here, his was easy to find. They checked the address on it and headed over to his house. You're not going to believe what they found. The address Jeremy listed on his application was an empty lot. Or at least, now it is. There used to be a house there, but it burned down in 1993. Being a small town, almost everyone remembers that fire. A family of 4 used to live there way back when. Rumor has it that they had an estranged son who they never really talked about. But I can't say for sure if that's true. What I can say is true is that after an insurance investigation, the fire was ruled as an arson. The entire house was soaked in oil and torched with a Molotov cocktail. The entire family was sleeping when it happened. None of them survived. They never caught the guy who did it. Rumor has it that when they tried to contact the estranged son, no one could find him. Anyway, my boss called and told me this, and I freaked out. Then he asked me to come to the gas station. What, are you crazy? I said. But he assured me that the cops were there with them. Then he dropped a bomb. The FBI were also in town, and they were going to talk to me one way or another, so I might as well come in. It was about 7:15, and I wanted to go back to bed, but I figured I wouldn't be able to sleep much more anyway. So I went down. 4 men in suits greeted me and told me to have a seat. We went over everything 2 or 3 times until they got all the details down. I told them about Jeremy, the security tape, last night at work, everything. Finally, after I finished, one of the agents said, "Oh Christ, we've got another one in our hands." Then they made me sign a bunch of papers saying I wouldn't tell anyone about what happened. So I can't say much more. I might be breaking the law just by posting this. So, now I'm home. I'm not sure what to do with myself. That agent's words when I told him the story are going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Anyway, I've got to go. I have some errands to run today, and then I have to go in to work to pick up some tapes. My boss and I think this new guy Jeremy, he's a complete creep. He's stealing motor oil, and I have to watch security footage to see if I can catch him doing it. I have better things to do. But my boss is paying me overtime under the table, and I'm trying to save up for vacations, so I could really use the money. It should be pretty simple. The oil always goes missing right after his shifts. I figure I'll just watch the tapes, catch him in the act, and that will be that. My god, that is one of my favorites. I got chills reading that again. Not just because I heard some weird noises in my house as I was reading that. If I sounded a bit too actually scared at points, I do apologize, but it was quite a spooky tale, wasn't it? It's 14 years old as a story. Yes, I should probably go over some of the details about it. This story was written by a user, I believe on Reddit, known as powerhawkmash. Absolutely well done. Bulla bus to you, as we say in Ireland, to you, sir slash madame slash mix. I really, really appreciate this entire story, and it got me into existential horror. Like, the reason why I love a lot of the things I love, like, existential horror-wise, is because of this story. Like, this is my first existential horror story. This led to me liking The King in Yellow, I guess you could say. Well, that's, like, not as existential, I guess, as this would be, like, an existential concept such as, like, time and all that. But, yes, this story was created on May 23rd, 2012. Like, this is a while back. This story is an oldie, but it's most certainly a goldie. You didn't get like creepypastas, not to generalize too much, but you didn't get creepypastas necessarily of this caliber back then. You had a lot of cliches and creepypastas. You had a lot of, like, especially with gaming creepypastas, you had a lot of, like, hyper-violence that wasn't necessarily creepy and more so read as shock, just pure shock value with nothing too much else to say to it. But this is a classic, and it absolutely plays to its strengths. It never really explains what Jeremy is. Jeremy is an existential villain. You never really get a full grasp of what he is. It gestures towards what he could be, but it stops short of confirming it. And I think that leaves a lot of room for interpretation, which is good. It doesn't give you the entire story as far as Jeremy goes. But again, it gives you a little bit of an idea. And that idea is not necessarily as narrow as you can't really figure anything else out about it in your head. You can do a little bit of a mind dive into what Jeremy is, and you can get even more freaked out thinking about the fact that this entire story might point to the fact that the protagonist, his boss, or their boss, and the daughter in question, every human on Earth in this story technically is in a 4-day, or like 2-day, I guess, time loop that goes between Jeremy shifts, possibly as a result of the estranged son traveling back in time, messing up a timeline, and grabbing some motor oil to burn his house down and kill all of his family. That's at least my theory anyway. But, again, it's open to interpretation, and that's what's so good about this creepypasta. You can really read it in a lot of different ways, just because of what it chooses to share with you and what it chooses not to. And that's a great way to induce existential horror, especially when you don't have a grasp of what's going on in the story. Makes it even more scary. And I really appreciate that about it. And also just the visual descriptions of everything. The fact that it spends so much of the tape portion of the story getting you involved in what the security tape might look like, describing this little woman comes in, this guy comes in, they show, hey, this, Jeremy does this, Jeremy does that, and it specifies the angle of the room and what you're looking at from each camera, and then it hits you with Jeremy's face just popping up, and your brain, as you read that line, or I guess hear that line, if it was your first time hearing the story, I mean, your brain is forced to generate the most horrifying image of a man staring into a camera. Like, it's so great. It has such a visual power that writing often doesn't have, or at least especially writing that is, internet horror stories writing. And that's really, really great. That it really gives you time to adjust to visualize what's going on and then hits you with a really unpleasant image. It's really great. It doesn't need to delve into hyperviolence or anything like that. It's just a freaky guy, and he's probably like a cognito hazard. It's great. This story truly is like one of the best, and it was my utter pleasure and honor to read it to you guys today. And if this is your first time ever hearing this story, that makes me really happy. I'm glad I could share this with you. Share this at your next campfire trip, will you? You're around with your friends, you're eating s'mores or whatever at the campfire, around a campfire. You got a few tents set up. Whip this story out. I'm sure people will love it. I'm sure no one will have to like weird nights where they're like, oh, I can't sleep. I'm sure they won't. But yeah, that was the strangest security tape I've ever seen. Again, thank you to powerhawkmash for this amazing story. It formed a lot of like what I love in horror, internet horror stories in general. And yeah, this is my second favorite creepypasta of all time, I believe. Right below 1999, I think, which we will get to at some point, but don't worry. I truly adored this story. I truly did. And I hope you all did too. If you enjoyed today's reading, if you enjoyed today's story, and you'd like to hear more, well, this is a part of a series I do called Internet Campfire Tales, where we will sit around and we will share some of the spookiest internet stories that I can find. Or maybe you can find. Feel free to suggest some down in the comments down below, and I will get around to them. And you might even have your own special episode of Internet Campfire Tales. As you might be aware, again, and as I stated at the start of this is not necessarily my main hustle. As far as being a content creator goes, I'm mostly a streamer and a voice actor. But if you enjoyed what you've seen here, this is a series that you can watch as a part of my membership on my channel. If you want to get another story like this once every month, you are free to join for the simple price of $2 a month. You can get access to all my membership content, exclusive perks in a Discord, and an exclusive chat room in a Discord, and emotes. So there's quite a lot there. And you'll also be supporting a small content creator like myself and helping me with life, because I have a lot of big things going on in my life right now, and any support at all is appreciated. Thank you very much. And if you just chose to stick around and listen to this, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you and I love you. Please remember to leave a like on your way out. It helps out a lot. Subscribe if you enjoy and want to maybe watch some of my streams. I hate to break it to you, but I do not talk necessarily this smoothly or soothingly in my live streams. Things get a little wacky, so be prepared for that if you do choose to gallop along with us and join us. But thank you very much for being here today. I'm Lona Usagi. I am hoping that you enjoy the nightmares you're about to have tonight. And I'll see you next time on Internet Campfire Tales. Bye-bye.